Good morning, everyone. We are going to do the slope formula today. So in order to find slope on a graph, we're going to do the rise and the run. So the rise would be your vertical, how much your change in your y's, and your run is going to be your horizontal, your x-axis, and how much is the change in your x's. All right, so if we look here, this would be our run. Okay, so it says using those ordered pairs that are given on your graph, how else could Aiden have found the rise to be 6? So what we're going to do is we're going to take 16 minus 10, and that's how we can find the 6. We subtract them. Okay. Now, using those same ordered pairs, how can we find the run? Same kind of thing. We're going to take our 16 and minus our 8. Remember, we have x, comma, y. So we're doing 16 and 10, which are our y values, and 16 and 8, which are our x values. So let's look down here. So the slope formula is rise over run, or you can count it if it's given to you on a graph. It's the easiest way. It's like what I said, it's the change in y over the change in x. And this graph over to your right side actually shows it really, really well, description-wise. Okay, so what does that mean for you? The formula that we're going to use for slope is called, and I'm not going to try and write it on that line because it's too tiny, but it is going to be m, because slope is m. It's always going to be the variable m, and it's m equals, and it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now, this is new for you. You're going to use this formula throughout this little lesson, video lesson, and in your Schoology for the next coming days and stuff. So please write it down somewhere. So it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And we're going to use it in the next slide. Alrighty, so we're going to use that slope formula that we wrote down, and I'm going to write it right up here so you have it again. So remember, it was y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so that was your m. When it gives you a table, you can choose any two of these coordinates. So right now on number 1, it has 4 coordinates. This is a coordinate. Depending on how your table looks, this table is laying flat on its side. So you remember x and y. So that's our x1 and our y1. And this can be our x2 and our y2. So if you want me to, I can label x1. Oop, did not mean to put that line there. And here is our y1. And here's our x2 and our y2. Alrighty, so when we go to set it up in this formula that I wrote at the top of the page, okay, we're going to have 5.5 minus 1 over 5. Oh, no. See, this is what happens with the table. If you don't pay attention, you actually put y2 over x2. And anyway, all right, scribble that out. Erase. I will use my magic eraser. Now, pay more attention, Miss Smiley. So I'm going to take y2, which is 5.5, and I'm going to subtract y1, which is 5. All right, now I'm in the right order here. Okay, so now x2 is 1, and x1 is 0. So now that I have it set up correctly, because setting it up is probably the hardest part, and you're going to make mistakes just like I did. And that's okay, because we can fix them, and we learn from them. So in Desmos, you can definitely type all of this in. If you have a yellow calculator at school, you can use it. If you have your phone calculator, you can even do that. But if you have your phone calculator, you're going to do the numerator first, and then figure out what the denominator is, and then divide. okay? You can do this in your head. But if we have Desmos calculator, I'm going to go to the scientific one, or you can use the graphing one. That's okay too. The scientific one has this button called A over V. And I can go back and I can put 5.5 minus 1 in here. Minus 5. Ooh, what did it do? Let me delete all that. Start again. 5.5 minus 5, and then it was 1 minus 0. And over here it gives you 0.5. Now remember, you can change it to a fraction. If you're using it in a yellow calculator, remember you'll go to alpha and y equals and hit enter and type it in from there. Okay, so it gave me 0.5, and I really don't want to write it as a decimal. Anytime we deal with slope, we really want to keep it as a fraction. And I know some of y'all really hate fractions, but it's going to help us because remember, this is our rise and this is our run. So we're going to rise up 1 and run 2. So let's look at number 2. Again, we can choose any of these points to use. I'm going to go ahead and choose the first 2. So this is my x1 and my y1. Labeling when you're learning this will really help you and keep them straight and put them in the correct spot. You're still going to probably make a mistake, but you'll have them labeled correctly. Okay, so y is on top. 62 minus 22 are my numerator. Those are y2 minus y1. My bottom of my fraction, my denominator, will be 8 minus 3. Alrighty, so again, you can type this into Desmos. You can type it into your yellow calculator. Yellow calculator, use alpha and y equals. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about by yellow calculator, we use them at school. They're the big TI scientific calculators you weren't allowed to use last year. So 62 minus 22. So I'm going to clear this. Nope. 62 minus 22, and it was 8 minus 3. And it simplifies it for you. It gives you that your answer is 8. Now, if we were writing this down, we can say 8 over 1, or just simply, like it gave it to us, 8. And why I say 8 over 1, because we would really rise 8, we would count up 8, and we would move over 1 space, okay, when we go to graph them. But that will come later this week. Alrighty, so now we're given this graph. We can use the coordinates. Let me use a different color. So this coordinate right here, we could use this coordinate and this one, the 2 that they give us. But, ladies, gentlemen, they gave us a graph. We are going to just count. So when you count, you have to really make sure that you pay attention to the labels on your graph. Okay? It might not go up by 1s. This one goes by 10s. Okay? We're still going to basically do what we do over here. Right? We're going to count. So there's 10, 20, 30. We went up 3 boxes. Each box counts as 10. That is our rise. And then we go over. Now look at your x-axis. That's totally different than our y's. Okay, and look at your x's. Right here it says it goes by 1s. So it went over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was our run. Okay, we can still write 30 over 5. Okay. And what is 30 divided by 5? You should get 6. Make my 6 look like a 6. Okay. If we were doing coordinates, we would say 80 minus 50. And the denominator would have been 5 minus 0. All right, and that's what we got over here, and it made it to be a 6. Now, here's the deal. What we didn't look at when we did 30 over 5 was if it is a positive or a negative sloping line. and it is a negative sloping line. Notice how it goes down and kind of to the right, okay? This is negative sloping line. If it had been a positive sloping line, it would have been something like this. This is a positive slope. We learned this last week. If you don't remember, refresh yourself, okay? So we really have -6 as our answer. Because again, negative sloping line. Let's move on. Alrighty, so now we're given coordinates. When I teach it in class or either on a video, I really want you to even label it. So it gives you just coordinates. It doesn't give you table or a graph anymore. So I'm going to switch my pin choice. This is still my x1 and my y1. The reason why we label it x1, y1 or x2, y2, it literally means first coordinate and second coordinate. So that's the 2 comes in. And this is my y2. My little 2's don't look like 2's because it's too tiny. Okay, so when I go to write the formula, I'm going to say y2 minus y1, so 7 minus 4, plugging in as I go. x2 is 1 minus x1 is 2. Alrighty, so let me write that down here again, the formula, because I have all this space. So again, this is what I just said out loud, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. There's always a subtraction sign. Okay, and then let's look. So type it into Desmos, type it into your calculator. 7 minus 4. Oh, clear off. 7 minus 4. And it was 1 minus 2. All right, it gives us -3 as our slope, which makes sense because 7 minus 4 is 3 and 1 minus 2 is -1. Now, number 5, we get into where we have some negative numbers, so we're just going to have to pay extra special attention to those guys, make sure we don't forget them. So I'm labeling it again. Again, this just helps me remember how to put it in the correct order. If you're good to go and you don't need to label, great. But if you're getting them wrong, go back to labeling. So y2 is -2 minus y1, which is 0. And x2 is 3 minus, and now I plug in x1. x1 is this entire thing, so I have to plug in -1. Alrighty, so here's the thing. If you're using a yellow calculator, this one has to be a negative sign. 3 minus -1. Now, if you're using Desmos, there's not really a negative button, okay? You use the subtraction sign. So let me look at our numbers again, -2 minus 0. So, man, it helps if I actually put it in the fraction. All right, -2 minus 0. Notice how it kind of looks exactly the same in Desmos, and it's going to. So there's no negative button like it is on a TI calculator. The next part was 3 minus -1. 3 minus -1. So again, they give it to me as a decimal in Desmos, okay? If you use alpha y equals in your calculator or you give it to you as a fraction, I'm going to switch it to a fraction and get -1/2. Alrighty, move on to the next. So label x1, y1, x2, and y2. We have 5 minus 3, and x2 minus x1 is 5 minus 1. Plug that into your calculator. If I'm going way too fast, pause it. 5 minus 3, 5 minus 1. Let me make sure I actually did it. Good. Rewrote it correctly into Desmos. Hit enter. It is 1/2. Alrighty. So this is some practice time for you. Now I know that they have a decimal and they have fractions. So you're still going to label x1, y1, and x2 and y2. If you're needing to label, please. Alrighty, so I'm going to have 3 minus 0 and 3.5. Oh, my decimal did not show up. 3.5 minus 4.2 and 5 there. Okay. Go to Desmos. Clear this. So it was 3 minus 0 and 3.5 minus 4.25. And we get -4 as our slope. Okay. All right, so number 8 looks a little different. Okay, it has a fraction in it. But if you look, this fraction, what is it as a decimal? 3 divided by 4. You can put it in your calculator. Hopefully you remember it from elementary school. But it is just 0.75. So that's a lot easier to work with sometimes if you want to just plug it in as a decimal. So really, I'm going to use 2 comma 0.75 and 5 comma 0.75. Alrighty. So I'm going to have 0.75 minus 0.75. And that's a bad 7 and a 5 on the last one, but it is. And then 5 minus 2. Alrighty. Plug this into Desmos. Hopefully you're all already seeing what I'm going to see is going to happen. 0.75 minus 0.75. And then 5 minus 2 is on the denominator. It equals 0. And that makes sense because if I have 0.75 minus 0.75, I get 0. 5 minus 2 gives me 3. Okay, anything dividing into 0 is going to be 0. All right, now on this one, x1, y1, and x2, y2. So on this one, I have 2 minus 3 and 7.5 minus 7.5. Alrighty, so clear this. 2 minus 3 and then 7.5 minus 7.5. Notice how it says undefined over here. That is one of your 4 types of slope that you can have. You cannot have a 0 in the denominator. You will get undefined. If you have a yellow calculator, you will get error, can't divide by 0, and that is okay. All right, if you says error can't divide by 0, again, you didn't do it wrong. If you notice and go back and do it by hand even, I had -1 divided by 0, and I can't do that. Okay, so that's called undefined. Or again, it would say error, can't divide by 0. All right, so we're back to having a table. If we have the number of songs that we purchase and how much is our total cost, what is that relationship? It says find the rate of change or slope. Rate of change is the exact same thing as slope. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take these coordinates from here, these y values and these x values. Remember, x is on the left of your table, y is on the right of your table. And I'm going to subtract them. I'm going to show it down here. 6.24 minus 3.27. I could choose any of these points. I chose the top 2. And then 5 minus 2. So, Desmos is your best friend. Clear all. Go back to my fraction, or alpha and y equals if you're on your yellow calculator. 6.24 minus 3.27. And it's going to be all over 5 minus 2. And we get 0.99. So that is our slope. We're going to leave it. Remember, we're talking about money. How much does each song cost? And so we'll put a little dollar sign. 99 cents. Leaving it as a decimal. Okay. Now on this table, try out on this one. Okay, it says that Andy and his friends have left the road trip based on the number of hours they have driven. Find the rate of change or the slope. Alrighty, so what I would do is I would take this one minus this one. I'll help you set it up and you solve. Or if you want to try setting up the rest of it, try setting up the rest and then see if you get it right. You can pause, you can unpause. You know the drill. All right, so if you type it into your calculator or into Desmos, you should get -60. But you could label this with miles. -60. So it's going down 60 every time. Let's say that. In 1 hour, it goes down 60. If we're being reasonable about what it means. The post office charges a flat rate plus a cost for shipping based on the weight of an item. To ship a 2-pound item, it costs $6.09. And to do a 7-pound item, it costs this. Find the rate of change. So I'm going to put money over pounds. When I go to write this, I'm going to put 884 minus 609. And I'm going to put the denominator as 7 minus 2. This way I can find the slope, the rate of change. Rate of change, keyword, meaning slope. Okay. Type this in your calculator under Desmos in your alpha y equals. Let me see. 884 minus 609. My denominator is 7 minus 2. And it gives me 55 cents as our answer. All right, 55 cents for 1 pound. Because remember, it had that flat rate, okay? So that flat rate's always going to be in there. Alrighty, I hope this helps. If you remember, if you have questions, you can always get a hold of Miss Hill or myself. Y'all have a great